Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. You're probably wondering, okay Phoenix Knight, you say we're having a playthrough, but all I see is a black space. Well, we're going to be building our board as we go, because tonight we're playing Mansions of Madness from Fantasy Flight Studios. Mansions of Madness is a dungeon crawl set in the Cthulhu Mythos, where we're building out the dungeon as we go. So that's why all you see right now is a black space where the board normally would be. We'll be building that as we go. We are going to go through the Cycle of Eternity scenario, mostly since it's a Sunday night and I wanted to get some kind of test in here for an app-based game. I am going to be keeping my iPad with the app off camera, unless we bring in something like a puzzle, where in that case the app would come on screen and we'd work with that. So the backstory for the Cycle of Eternity: after a rash of disappearances, your investigation brings you to the Vanderbilt mansion during a meeting of a particular astronomical society. Can you unravel the mystery before the Cycle of Eternity turns once more? So it sounds like the sound effect is coming through. We're going to meet our investigators, and I'll keep the team off camera. So as I'm selecting the investigators in the app, we will meet them as well. So let's look at our first investigator, Agnes Baker. You guys, if you're a regular on the channel, you know she's one of my favorites. 7 health, 7 stamina, or 7 health, 7 sanity. You begin the game with the Storm of Spirits spell and all the familiar stats from the Arkham Horror files. 2 strength, 3 agility, 4 observation, 5 lore, 4 influence, and 3 will. Those will be tested in the app in very similar ways to how they'd be tested in any of the other games in the files. And of course there are minis here as well. This is Agnes's mini. As you can see, I don't paint my minis. Our next investigator on the team is going to be Carolyn Fern, the psychologist. She's an investigator in first edition of Mansions of Madness. I've got a lot of first edition content, and Carolyn was part of that. 6 health, 8 sanity. Her special ability is an action. You or another investigator within range flip 1 horror face down or discard 1 face down horror. Range is 2 spaces. 3 strength, 2 agility, 4 observation, 3 lore, 4 influence, 5 will. So that's Carolyn. Our next investigator, once I tab over, is another one of my favorites. Our dilettante, Miss Jenny Barnes. 8 health, 6 sanity. Action: if you have no clues, gain 2 clues and discard a horror. 3 strength, 4 agility, 3 observation, 3 lore, 5 influence, 3 will. Then we've got 2 more investigators. Our fourth, and we should probably show off Jenny and Carolyn's minis. This one is Carolyn. It took a little bit of zooming in to find the fine detail, but that's Carolyn. Jenny's was a lot easier. She's actually using her 2nd edition art from the looks of it there. But let's meet our 4th investigator, Rita Young, the athlete. 9 health, 5 sanity. You may move it 1 additional space as part of a move action. 5 strength, 4 agility, 3 observation and lore, 2 influence, 4 will. And I'll be keeping everything for the investigators off shot as well. And we've got Rita's mini like she's running. Very fitting for the athlete. I'll explain how health and sanity actually work in this game. And our last investigator on the team is Ursula Downs, the Explorer. 7 health, 7 sanity. Once per round, you may move 1 space before or after performing an Explorer action or resolving the effects of a sight token. 3 strength, 4 agility, observation, and lore, and 3 is also an influence and will. And Ursula's mini is right here. So now we'll gain starting items. Investigators begin the game with quite a few things, and we can pass these on to the rest of the team as we need. So let's grab the items first, since those are alphabetized. We need the holy water, the silver twilight dagger, thermos. Oop. Easy does it. I had a stack of items. I had the stack of items in my hand. It almost went flying on me. Then we need for spells. We need a Storm of Spirits. And I'll get in the app as well that each investigator begins with 2 clues. Which automatically turns off Jenny's ability, but that's fine in the grand scheme of things. And we'll take that Storm of Spirits. We get to Plumb the Void. Once I get these items all pulled out, I do want to check one more thing, that I've got long enough cable that if I need to, I can bring the iPad in shop. It's not something I'm going to want to do often, because if you remember when I played Star Wars Imperial Assault a couple years ago, focusing on the app too much was one of the biggest problems I had with that game, and it made me very hesitant on app-based games after that. And an Azure Flame. Okay, so we've got all that set. Let me make sure I've got enough slack on my chart. Well, not only enough slack on my chart, my iPad. Bring it in shot if I need to. Just barely. But I should be able to move the power strip here to get that a little more front and center. I don't like the glare that's kicking out, though. I may not be able to avoid it. Let me see if that's... No, that's even worse. Evening, Troy. I'm just doing a little bit of testing with my iPad as I'm getting ready to play some Mansions of Madness. As long as I'm over here, let me get the 2 clues for the investigators as well. The way clues work in this game is traditionally in the Arkham files, clues you can usually spend for rerolls. In this case, the way you can spend them, there are a couple ways you can spend them. So we've got our clues here. So each investigator will be getting 2 of these. The way we spend clues in this game is either to convert a die roll, because we've got special D8s. We can spend a die to convert that into a success, which is the Elder Sign. Or on puzzles, we can spend them for additional moves. So that's how we use clues in this game. As I mentioned, the damage and sanity are unique. And I'll explain how those work when they actually happen. So everybody starts with 2 clues, and now let's look at these items so I decide how I want to pass them around. First up, we've got our Storm of Spirits. It's a ranged spell, does 4 damage. You can suffer 1 face-down damage to deal 1 additional damage while attacking with this card. The spells are double-sided, so you'll keep them all flipped over. You'll keep them flipped over until... You'll keep them on this side until an effect instructs you to flip them over. That will go to Agnes to start the game. Then we've also got an Azure Flame. Treat this as a light source. I'll explain more about how darkness can be a problem when it actually happens. I'm going to give that... I'm going to give that to Carolyn. Then our last spell is Plumb the Void. Action, place a rift in your space and remove your investigator figure from the board, then flip this card. Let's give that to Jenny. I'm just going to double check which ones are the rift tokens. Of course it doesn't specify here. Maybe it will in the Oh, the learn to play, I think, is up here. I'm hoping that the... Oh, I bet that's an expansion that brings rifts into the game. Well, given that I'm starting off with something that gives me a rift, I should probably figure out what they are pretty quick. Or try to remember. It has been a while since I played Mansions of Madness, so bear with me a little bit. I'm going to be scraping a lot of rust off with this game. Okay, rift. So, right. That is... Okay. That's a rift token. So at least now we know what we've got there. Next up, the Silver Twilight Dagger. This is a melee weapon. 1 damage. Bladed weapon. There are some effects in the app that'll reference that. You may deal 1 additional damage when casting an attack spell. I'm going to give that to Agnes because she's most likely... Either she or Carolyn will be doing most of our spell-based attacking. Next up, we've got Holy Water, which as an action you can discard 1 horror and become focused, then discard this card. Focused is a condition, it's a status effect. Focused, we can discard that to convert all of our magnifying glasses to successes while resolving a test. I'm going to give that to Rita because she's got very low sanity. And the Thermos is basically the same thing but for damage. And based on the same logic, I'm going to give that to Carolyn because she's got the lowest the lowest health of anybody on the team. And everybody's got their 2 clues, so I imagine the app is going to take it away with narration. At least for the first scenario intro. So app, take it away. And we've got a loading screen here where the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Thank you, H.P. Lovecraft.
You slump into your office chair after another long day of interviews. You've been investigating the disappearances surrounding a wealthy neighborhood for 2 weeks, but you have nothing to show for it. The telephone rings. You answer and hear the panicked voice of an older man.
Is this the investigator who visited the Vanderbilt estate?
You flip through the files on your desk. William Vanderbilt, a wealthy bachelor, mother recently deceased. He has refused to meet with you, but you were able to speak to several members of his serving staff.
This is Eugene, Mr. Vanderbilt's butler. I didn't know who else to call. The police think I'm crazy. Unnatural things have started happening here. I'm worried for my master. I think he's in danger. Please, help.
Finally, a lead. You hang up the phone, throw on your coat, and leave for the Vanderbilt estate.
The app won't always narrate everything that's going on, but I will be reading everything on the app out loud. So we'll let this load up. Okay, so now we're placing stuff here. Your car rattles up the uneven drive, pulling to a stop in front of the estate. Several cars and carriages are parked along the drive. However, the butler who contacted you is nowhere to be seen. You knock on the large oak door to no response. Fearing something has happened, you try the handle, and the door swings open into a lavish entryway. Place the entry hall and hall corner 1 tiles and walls as indicated. And I'm not going to show off the app here, but I will go looking for the core set tiles, which are actually right here. Let's see, so you want 2 of the single length tiles. We are looking for the entry hall and hall corner 1, and I will apologize in advance that this part's going to be a little bit slow as I look to match my tiles and make sure I've got everything oriented the right way. And then we need hall corner 1. That's the one thing I've never really liked about Mansions of Madness is the setup's a little bit on the clunky side. You have to do a lot of it as you go. And we need a wall on We need a wall down here. Let's see. That wall. Okay, right here. And that is going to go about like so. Alright. We're all set up there. Oh, we need another wall up there before we get to... Hold on. Okay, so there was another wall up here, but I couldn't see that. You step into the warmth of the house. A strange stillness hangs in the air, and your footsteps echo through the quiet entrance. Place your investigator figures as indicated, so everybody goes on this space. Okay. On the left wall of the entry hall sits a table with a small pile of papers. Place a search token as indicated, which the search token is going to look like that. And that goes up here. We can interact with that for an action. We've got another one already. A mysterious painting of a nighttime landscape dominates the right wall of the entry. Place a search token. That's right on the wall we put up here. Uh-oh. Silence is broken by the muffled shouts and sounds of crashing pots and pans coming from the door on your right. Place an explore token, which the explore token looks like that, and that goes right over here. You notice a shelf stacked with books and other objects nearby. Pushing it in front of the door could prevent someone or something from breaking through. We'll be placing a barricade to help with that. The barricade is... Let's see. Right. Looks like one of these. Yep. So that goes actually right where Agnes is. And we've got the hall continuing deeper into the museum. That'll be up here. We'll be placing a sight token, which any investigator in the hall corner 1 may reveal that. So that goes up there. 4 other doors lead into the mansion, so we'll be placing more explore tokens. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. And now we're into the investigator phase, where each of our ladies will have 2 actions. Which I think for one of them, we will have... I do want to refresh my memory on moving a barricade in. Let's see. Here we go. Component action for a barricade. Move a barricade in your space against or away from a door. So I think we're going to have Rita's first action... Actually, no. Ursula's first action is going to be to place a barricade to block that door off. And then for her second action, Ursula is going to come up here and interact with this pile of papers. So I'll go over to the app. The shoveled pile of papers, which costs an action. The papers stacked on the table are invitations marked with today's date. The stars have come round to their positions in the cycle of eternity. The Vanderbilt Astronomy Association cordially invites you to a celebratory evening. Gain 1 clue, then discard the search token. So Ursula gets the clue. That search gets discarded. And that is the end of Ursula's turn. I'm going to tip her down just so I know her turn is done. Let's see. So, right. Then I'm going to have Carolyn move up here for 1, and she's going to look at this painting for 2. So back over to the app. The mysterious painting of a landscape under the night sky overlooks the lavish entryway. Shadowy figures can be seen amidst the landscape. However, something in the stars catches your interest, lore. So what we're going to do now is Carolyn's going to roll 3 dice because that's her lore. And as many of the elder signs as we roll, we're going to make that our number. That's the number of successes she gets. She can also spend clues, as I mentioned earlier, to convert the magnifying glasses into elder signs. But let's see what her roll is on this. 1, and I think I will spend a clue. Actually, clues can't be dropped or traded. I think I will have her spend a clue to convert that to an elder sign to give her 2 successes. So we'll come back over to the app for that. You identify several of the specks of light in the sky as planets. They are all occupying the same section of the sky as if coming into alignment, not unlike the planets in the sky tonight. Beneath the painting, a plaque reads, "In memory of Lilith Vanderbilt. Gain 2 clues, then discard this search token." Well, good thing I had Carolyn spend the clues, or spend the clue. So that search token's discarded. And now Carolyn's turn is also done. Let's see. I think I'm going to have Jenny move up 1, and we'll explore this room for 2. The door leads to a large front room of the mansion. That's where we're going. Now, you swing the door open into a dimly lit meeting room. Large plush chairs have been placed around heavy oak tables that dominate the space. The room looks like it has been unused for some time, and the moonlight pouring in the bay windows gives the room an eerie glow. Place the viewing room 2 tile as indicated and discard any explore tokens leading to it. And it looks like I need the, whatever the train expansion is, that looks like Horrific Journeys. I do have my tiles organized by expansion because the symbols are on there for the different expansions, and that goes, these 2 explore tokens are going away. Okay, we're probably placing a door we're probably placing doors here, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to go too far with those explore tokens, though, because I expect we'll need more of those. Just getting the dice out. Atop the nearest table, a large chest catches your eye. Place a search token, so that goes right there. Then we've got one of the large wooden tables standing near the wall beneath the portrait of a stern-looking man. That'll place another search token. The far table is stacked with books and other items. Among them you spot something useful. Place the otherworldly compass item as indicated. We will take a look at that otherworldly compass before we take it, or before we place it. The otherworldly compass says, once during your turn, you may perform an explore action without spending an action. That goes there. And then Jenny can move 1 space in, which she will, but then she's done. Let's see, Rita could move 1, 2, and then we could have her take a look at this chest, which I think we will do. So she's going to move in for 1, 2, and then take a look at this chest. Large chest has been left on one of the dusty tables. You move to open the chest, but find it locked with a heavy padlock. The device is sturdy, but you believe you could pick the lock. Tap to attempt the puzzle using observation. Okay, this is one thing where I'm going to need the iPad in shot. Oh. Okay, let's see. I'm going to have to bring the iPad in. Actually, having it in that spot isn't too bad. Troy, you can probably weigh in and let me know if there are any problems with having the iPad in shot that way. There's a little bit of glare coming from the overhead light, but there's nothing I can do about that. Otherwise, it looks like everything's fine there. And this is one of the only times that I'm going to have the iPad in shot. So Rita's observation is a 3, which means she gets 3 moves on this puzzle. I could spend clues for additional moves if I want to. But this is actually a pretty simple puzzle where the goal is to get this piece right here and over there. This puzzle is actually very straightforward. So I would need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves, which I could spend both of her clues to get, and I think I will. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the puzzle is solved. Some of these puzzles get quite elaborate in this game, by the way. I'll get the app back out of shot. That door is right there. Agnes is last to go. You hear an audible click and the padlock pops open. Inside the chest, you find a grotesque statuette of an octopoid dragon and something else that might be of use. Gain the riot whistle common item, the grotesque stone unique item, and 1 clue. Then discard this search token. So we want the riot whistle. The grotesque stone unique item. Yep. And one of those clues back that Rita spent. So let's take a look at Rita's newest items. First up, we've got the riot whistle. Once per round, you or another investigator within range may re-roll any number of dice while evading a monster. And the grotesque stone is just evidence. Thousands of years seem to be recorded in this statue's dim and greenish surface of unrecognizable stone. And then that is it for Rita. We discard the search token. All Agnes is doing right now is, since we barricaded this space in, I heard pots and pans breaking and I didn't like what I heard. So she's going to move deeper into the mansion, intending to explore further. She's also the one best suited to defending herself right now. So with that, everybody's going to stand back up. Actually, I never tipped over Rita, I realized, but we are into the Mythos phase. Dun dun dun! Light and shadow create distracting profiles on the walls. This Mythos event affects the investigator with the lowest observation. Let's see, 4, 3, 4, 4, 3. I can decide if this affects either Jenny or Rita. And this event is going to affect... I'm going to have it affect Jenny because she's a bit better able to survive some of these. So let's see what happens to Jenny. You try to discern what made that worrisome shadow. Observation, and she needs 1 success. So we'll roll her observation of 3, and we need to get at least 1 success. Good thing I've still got the dice tower in shot. I'm actually going to turn this so it's a little bit straighter. That's probably fine. And she gets 2 successes. Very nicely done, Jenny. If you pass, you identify it as a harmless, mundane object outside the window. We're not going to worry about the fail text as usual. And we're back to the investigator phase. Let's see. So, I think here, I'm going to have Rita move over here. Actually, she could move 1. I forget, can movement be broken up in this game? I think it can be. Yep, you can break up movement. So she's going to move 1, pick up the otherworldly compass, and then 2 to come right back in. Jenny's going to move 1 and interact with this. This was a painting, I believe, for 2. The table is covered in random clutter, including various letters and official documents. We'll search that. You dig through the dense paperwork, cluttering the table, looking for anything of interest. Observation. Jenny is a 3. She just survived the Mythos event decently well, and she's got a couple of clues that we can spend for additional successes if we need them. That's only 1 success, though, so she's probably not going to find much of interest. Oh, I stand corrected. As you shuffle through the seemingly endless paperwork covering the table, you spot a weathered journal that looks out of place amidst the mundane clutter. The cover of the journal is marked Lilith Vanderbilt. Gain the old journal unique item and discard the search token. The investigator holding the old journal can read through its entries by interacting with it in the app. So that search token is discarded, and the old journal is a unique item. This journal entry in the culprit's own handwriting is practically a confession. That will go over to Jenny. I'm going to get the dice tower out of the way and actually start moving this a little bit more in that direction, because we're probably going to be looking to do a little bit of exploring this round. So Jenny's done. Carolyn is going to move 1 and hit this explore token for 2. A brass plaque marked bath adorns the door. Right. Through the door you find a small spa lined with colorful tile. There's a small bath at the far end. Discard this explore token and place the spa tile as indicated. That's another one of the horrific journey. Oh, and the spa is right on top. That makes my life ridiculously easy. So we'll put that right there. And there's doors right there, so we are probably fine on that. Let's see what else we've got. A marble-topped cabinet sits against the north wall, placing a search token. So that goes right here. You may move 1 space in, and I think Carolyn will, so she can interact with this on her next turn. But unfortunately, Carolyn is done for the time being. Ursula is going to move 1, 2. Then Agnes is going to move 1, interact with a sight token, which that won't cost her an action. The hall continues deeper into the mansion. An investigator in the hall corner 1 may reveal the adjacent area. So she will. The hall continues toward the side of the mansion. Discard the sight token and place the hall end tile and a door is indicated. That hall end comes out of the core set. Office, alley 2, bedroom 2, billiards room, street corner, hall corner. We need the hall end. Yard 1, hall end. Here we go. And that wants to go this way. And we are going to place a door, which is probably getting an explore token in about 5 seconds. So that will go right there. I think other way. Yep, right about there. First we get a search token. Someone acting in a hurry has knocked over a stack of papers. We'll place a search token there. 3 other doors lead to halls of the mansion. Hey, look at that. Who guessed that was going to happen? This guy did. 2 and 3. You could use the surrounding furniture to barricade the door should the need arise. We place another barricade. I should have another... Here we go. So that's going right there. And unfortunately, Agnes can't move in for that because the app didn't give us permission to. But I will use I will interact with this explore token right here on her space. So this one right here. Wood plaque marked library is fastened to the center of the door, which we will interact with. The door creaks on its hinges as you push it open to reveal the library. Bookshelves line the wall because it's a library. Discard this explore token and place the library tile and a wall as indicated. Let's see, we want the library, do we? Cabins. Oop, I'm in the wrong stack. I want to be in the base game. Which actually, wait a second. Nope. Base game is what I want. So we want the library here. Bedroom 2. Billiards room. Here's the library. And that goes Up here. That explore token goes away, and we need a wall. Which that will go like that. And we've got a search token already. A pile of research materials that have recently been used sits on a small wooden desk. Search token goes right there. Robed figure is pushing a bookshelf back into place. Place a search token is indicated. Uh-oh. Sounds like we're going to have a fight on our hands pretty soon. The robed figure draws out a strange idol and begins chanting. Before your very eyes, a terrifying creature appears out of thin air. The cult member speaks some words to it in a strange language, but the creature turns on him, tearing him to pieces before your eyes. Spawn a zombie in the library is indicated. We'll get the zombie out here first, but there is more text on there. Zombie, here we are. Let's see. Alright, so the zombie has got 2 awareness, a 4 horror value, that'll come into play later, and brawn of 2, which is on the other side. A shambling corpse that was once a human being, the zombie possesses impossible strength, but only a shred of its former speed and grace. So that spawns there. And then we suffer 2 horror, but will negates. So what that means is Agnes has to test her will of 3, which means we'll be rolling 3 dice for that. For every success that Agnes gets, that's a horror she won't have to take. So let's roll up a will test for Agnes. That's one success. I will spend a clue to convert that magnifying glass to an elder sign so Agnes doesn't take any horror. Because she's probably going to be facing some horror on the zombie. And actually, she's the only one. Actually, no. You may move 1 space in, except she's not going to. So that was Agnes's second action. She's the last investigator to go. So we'll stand everybody up. And we will get into the Mythos phase. Silence reigns. Complete, enveloping silence. No immediate effect. That's welcome. You hear a blood-curdling scream and the sound of tearing flesh from another room, and then silence. You have a feeling you are too late to save the butler. Each investigator suffers 2 horror. So the way horror... This is actually a good time to talk about how horror works. So the way horror and... Actually, the way both horror and damage work is... You've got these decks. There's 1 for horror, 1 for damage. You'll take these cards as face down damage or horror. There might be an effect you keep them flipped face down similar to the spells until another effect instructs you to flip them face up. So we'll give this a quick shuffle. And we'll get 2 horror out for everybody. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Which is especially problematic for Rita, because she's got such low sanity. A creature bursts into the lobby from the direction of the scream. If the door is blocked by a barricade, discard that barricade. Well, that's unfortunate. The creature's black, serpentine body shifts and changes, playing tricks on your eyes as you try to focus on it. The creature unfurls its leathery wings and unleashes a blood-curdling screech. Spawn a hunting horror as indicated. Oh, joy. And the hunting horror is even more dangerous. Awareness of 5, horror value of 6, And flying. This monster can move through impassable borders. Black, ropey, and relentless. The creature flies swiftly, always seeking its quarry. Its ever-changing form is hard to see for mortal eyes. And thank you for the kind words, Troy, that you're enjoying the playthrough so far. Okay, the zombie moves one space toward the nearest investigator within range. It's making friends with Agnes. Then it attacks the investigator in its space who has suffered the most horror. So it's attacking Agnes. You struggle to keep the thing back, and it roars into your face, spitting gobbets of rotting flesh. Will and needs 2 successes. So Agnes's will, once again, is a 3. That is just a gross roll. If you fail, you flinch and you lose your grip on both the zombie and your possessions, suffer 2 damage, and drop 1 random item. Unfortunately for Agnes, the only item she's got is the Silver Twilight Dagger, which she was going to probably try to use to help kill this zombie, but now she drops it in her space. And the Hunting Horror is going to be moving as well. It moves toward 3 spaces toward the investigator within range with the highest observation. Then it attacks that investigator. The investigator in range with the highest observation is Ursula with a 4. Yes. Theoretically, Jenny as well, but Ursula's closer. So it'll move to Ursula and attack. Planting its feet on the ground, the creature rears up and attempts to wrestle you to the floor with its clawed limbs. Suffer 3 damage, strength +1 negates. And actually that just caused a big problem for us, because it moved the Hunting Horror into range, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, maybe not, but Ursula's strength is a 3, so she gets 4 dice. She's suffering 3 damage with strength +1 negates. So just like we did with Agnes's will earlier, Ursula's got to roll going to roll strength +1. For every success she gets, she doesn't take a damage. Which is 1. I will spend a clue to convert that into an elder sign for our second success, and Ursula will only take 1 damage. Okay. Okay, now we've got a horror check that we've got to resolve. Each investigator must resolve a horror check against the monster within range with the highest horror rating. After all horror checks have been resolved, tap the end phase to continue. So, because the Hunting Horror moved in range, it's going to be resolved. Agnes, Ursula, and Carolyn are going to be facing horror checks from the Hunting Horror. So they will face the same horror check. Yikes. The creature latches onto its surroundings, tearing them apart. Will 3. Let's go for Agnes first. All 3 of these need to be successes. And none of them are even anything we can do anything with. Agnes fails. She loses her nerve and screams, drawing the beast's attention. She will suffer 2 horror. We need a different way to do this. And I think we're going to put these over here. Actually, you know what? I think I can make it work this way and alternate them. It's going to be a little bit awkward, but I can probably manage it. Next up is going to be Ursula, who's got a will of 3 as well. Ursula will also suffer 2 horror. Carolyn, with a will of 5, hopefully she can do something about not taking a lot of horror here. Okay, 3 successes. Carolyn can work with that. So Carolyn's the only investigator who survives that. And then Rita has a horror check against the zombie. Since that's the only one in range, it won't have a... Actually, does the horror check care about line of sight? Because if it does... If the horror check cares about line of sight, then Jenny against each monster within range. Okay, so yeah. Well, let me go into the rules reference for that. Let's see. Screen anatomy. Range cannot be counted through walls or doors unless an effect specifically allows it. Okay. So Jenny doesn't have a horror check to worry about, but Rita does. She's got to resolve a horror check against the zombie. So Rita's horror check. The disgusting, rotting scent of the corpse strikes you like a physical force. Strength, and she needs 2 successes, so we need 5 dice. Oop. Stop it. I'm yelling at the dice falling, so 2 successes and Rita's got 5 dice. Okay, 3 successes. If you pass, you cover your mouth and nose just in time. And we're not going to worry about the fail as usual. That's it, so now we're into the investigation phase. Yikes. So what do I want to do here? Well, I think we're going to have to try to kill some of these monsters. Agnes is going to start off. Agnes is going to be dealing with a zombie already, so she will actually start with that. Agnes is going to... Yikes, the zombie's got 8 health. So Agnes is going to start off by attacking with her Storm of Spirits, and she will suffer a face-down damage, so she can deal an additional damage on the spell. A shock runs down your arms as you form the words for the incantation. Will, and she needs 2 successes. Will is 3. Which, that's actually perfect. So she does damage equal to the spell's damage, which is 4. And she took a face-down damage to trigger the Storm of Spirit, so that's actually 5 damage. Then we flip the spell we attacked with. So Agnes will flip this to find. 10,000 screams burst from your mouth as the spirits escape in a flood. You and each other investigator within range suffer 1 face-down horror. Then the monster suffers 1 additional damage. Then discard this card and gain another Storm of Spirits. So in range, yikes, that's everybody except Jenny. So Agnes suffers another horror. Carolyn takes a horror, and Rita takes a horror. So Agnes and Rita are both 2 horror away from going insane, which could be very problematic. So we'll gain another copy of Storm of Spirits. And I'll explain how insanity works when that actually becomes a thing, which it might here before too long. But I think Agnes is going to have to run back the attack against the zombie, because I want to try to get that thing taken out. So she's going to try again with the spell, and she is not going to take the additional damage here. You trace a mystic sigil in the air, letting your mind expand into it. Lore, and she needs 2 successes. Her lore is a 5. That's 2 successes, which is what we needed, so she will actually defeat the zombie, but we have to flip the Storm of Spirits that we attacked with. Yikes. Shrieking fills your mind as you feel something behind you, gripping your neck. No matter how you twist and turn, you can't shake it, nor even see it. Suffer 2 face-down horror, then discard this card and gain another Storm of Spirits card. Well, about that 2 more horror to go insane, Agnes just did. So we'll deal with the rest of the... Actually, let's deal with the Storm of Spirits first. But I'm going to bring the Insanities up, and I'll explain how that works in relation to potentially ending the game. Alright, we'll take another Storm of Spirits. So now that Agnes has suffered her maximum sanity, she's going to take one of these insane cards. And unfortunately, it is very hard to go through. She's not going to be able to really do any kind of secret information on any of this. All right. Insane. Look at the back of this card, but don't reveal it to the other investigators. When you have suffered horror equal to your sanity, you're eliminated. And that actually would end the game on the spot. So Agnes's insanity here is envious. The sight of other people having more than you is unacceptable. Everything should be yours. You don't win the game as normal. Instead, you win only if the investigation is complete and you have more items than the investigator to your left. Otherwise, you lose the game. But Agnes did deal enough damage to take out the zombie. Which, I already took that off the board. So I'll throw that back in the binder. And Agnes is done. Now, Ursula is going to try to attack the hunting horror unarmed, which is probably a horrible idea. So, unarmed. As you approach the creature, you meet its gaze, and the unknowable alien intelligence you see strikes a deep, devouring fear into your heart. You try to persevere and complete your attack. Will, and she needs 2 successes. That is 2 successes. So if you pass, you manage to bury the fear long enough to strike at the very eyes that so affected you, and the creature recoils in pain. The monster suffers 3 damage. So that's 3 damage, and Ursula will try it again, unarmed. With empty hands and the beast looming over you, you struggle to work up the courage to attack. An equal measure of bravery and insanity fuels your attack, and you lash out at the creature, rolling will. Roll 2 extra dice if you have suffered 3 or more horror, and Ursula has suffered 4. The monster suffers damage equal to your test result. So if we get 5 successes, we just take the hunting horror out. And Ursula's got 2 clues she can throw at this. Whoop. Which she will not use. So she'll deal 1 damage to that, and Ursula's done. Carolyn is going to interact with this, Carolyn's going to interact with this search token right here for 1. A marble-topped cabinet sits atop the bathroom wall. She'll search that. You try the drawer, but warped wood has left it stuck shut, testing strength. Her strength is a 3. That is not a good stat for Carolyn to be testing. But let's see what she gets here anyway. 2 successes, though, so she might actually be able to jimmy it open. And she does. With a powerful tug, you open the drawer. Inside, you find an item that looks like it has been sitting there for quite some time. Gain the Pith Helmet common item, then discard the search token. Let's see, we need the Pith Helmet, which is right here. It's an equipment. You may ignore rubble. Once per round, you may convert a magnifying glass to an elder sign while in an outdoor space. And then that search token goes away. And Agnes and Ursula are screaming for help with the hunting horror, which Carolyn's going to try to give them some with her azure flame. With each word you speak, you feel power building up within you. Lore, and she needs 2 successes. Her lore is a 3. Which that is 2 successes, so she passes it. If you pass, the power bursts from you as you complete the incantation. The monster suffers damage equal to the spell's damage plus your test result. 2 plus 2 is 4. That'll be enough to defeat the hunting horror, but we need to flip the spell we attacked with. Tendrils of sky blue light emanate from your fingers and scorch your enemies. No additional effect. Then discard this card and gain another Azure Flame spell. So we'll get the Azure Flames out. I'll give those a shuffle. And I'm already seeing that this is not... The 5 investigators is probably not going to make great content. Maybe if I cut this down to 2, it'll work a little bit better. But... yeah, definitely at 5, I'm very much hesitating with featuring this more on the channel. So we get the new Azure Flame for Carolyn. The Hunting Horror has been defeated, which is a relief to everybody in the conversation. As for the other 2 ladies, Rita is going to move 1, 2, and then she's going to interact with this search token. We saw a robed figure pushing that into place earlier, so I'm wondering if that's going to turn us into a secret passage we need to unlock. Peering behind the bookshelf the robed figure was moving, you see runic circles inscribed on the wall. Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of that with Rita in there. You push aside the shelf and attempt to decipher the strange ritual markings on the wall. Tap to attempt the puzzle using lore. So that'll bring the app back in shot. We'll put that there. It's probably not going to be great to see the... oh boy. Okay, so this is a puzzle where we've got to put everything back in place. Is it sliding? Or I think it's sliding. So that piece looks like a... that piece looks like an upper right. So we're going to go with that. Those 2 look like they go together. So 2, and Rita's lore is a 3. Okay, so she can't do anything more with that puzzle. We'll probably need to get Agnes in there to help her out with that. So that's it for Rita's turn. Jenny is going to move 1, 2. And then that's it for her turn. Everybody stands back up, and we go into another Mythos phase. Okay. Carolyn Fern runs frantically from some unseen evil, only to lose her footing. Agility, and she needs 2 successes. Uh-oh. Carolyn's agility is a 2. Fortunately, she's got 3 clues, so 2 magnifying glasses work as well here. Which, we can't do anything about 2 blanks. If she fails, she slams headfirst into a wall. Carolyn Fern suffers 1 face-down damage and becomes stunned. Carolyn, I know your eyesight, I know you wear glasses, but your eyesight cannot be that bad that you can't see the wall right in front of you. Oh, delightful. A robed figure appears from a secret door and begins searching around. Upon seeing signs of other people, the figure yells, "There is someone here." You hear a muffled response from another part of the estate. Get rid of them. Spawn a dark druid as indicated. And here I was thinking we would actually have a quiet round. But the dark druid has an awareness of 3, horror rating of a 2, and a brawn of 2, which mostly affects us in trying to break down barricades. Clad in dark robes, these pagan priests are mortal men driven to unnatural practices. So he spawns there. And let's see what we get here for its move. The Dark Druid moves up to 2 spaces to be within range of as many investigators as possible. Then it attacks each investigator in range. 1, 2. Delightful. The Dark Druid can attack everybody. Wonderful. Let's see. The Druid curls inward and writhes with abject agony, producing from a tattered robe a horde of small rodents that scurry toward you. Agility, and you need 2 successes. Agnes's agility is a 3. Which she gets 1, so she fails. If she fails, the horror The horrible fangs and claws tear into old wounds. Flip 2 damage face up, then suffer 3 face down damage. Yuck! So the way we do that, so remember how I said that we keep these face down until an effect instructs us to? Well, an effect just instructed us to flip damage face up. So we're going to flip these 2 face up. So the first one we flip face up is a broken leg. You hear your bones break with a sickening crunch. Your leg will not bear even the smallest weight. Keep face up. If you move more than a single space as part of a move action, flip 1 damage face up. Fortunately, Agnes can only move 1 space. And the other damage we're flipping face up, minor injury, only a flesh wound. Resolve immediately. No additional effect, flip it back face down. And then she takes 3 more face down damage. Yuck! 1, 2, 3. Jesus, Mary and the wee donkey. That's called a problem. Let's see, Jenny's agility is a 4. And she needs 2 successes as well, which she will spend 2 clues to get 2 successes. Because Jenny doesn't feel like, well, Jenny could take the 3 face down damage. But, yeah, no, she's going to spend the 2 clues to convert those. Carolyn's agility is a 2. Oh, she's also stunned. Yeah, she's also stunned. So, we're going to find out what happens with stunned. Nothing good, I'm sure. Let's see here. It's going to be a condition. Stunned for Carolyn. You can't perform more than a single action during your turn. At the end of your turn, discard this card. Fantastic. Okay, so now that's where we're back to. We're back to Carolyn rolling for her attack. 1 success, which means she flips her damage face up since she only had the 1. Minor injury, so she flips that back face down, and then she takes another 3 face down damage. Jeez. Ursula's agility is a 4. Come on, ladies. Somebody needs to be able to get out of the way of these rats. Ursula has clues to spend, so she will. Because I don't feel like taking a lot more damage. Rita's agility is also a 4, and she's got a clue to spend. Which, never mind. So Rita just takes 3 face down damage. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then everybody's got a horror check. Jeez. Let's see. One of the druid's open eyes crawl pale yellow worms. Out of the druid's open eyes crawl pale yellow worms, leaving wet tracks where they fall to the ground. You can't help but close your eyes against the revolting image, but when you do, you feel worms crawling on your own eyelids. Suffer 1 face down damage and 2 face down horror. Will plus 1 negates. Agnes's will plus 1 is a 4. I would love for her not to take more horror here. Which that is 2 successes. Which I'll spend her clue so she doesn't take anything. That was converting a magnifying glass to a success. Jenny is also a 3 plus 1 for a 4. Which she will take that naturally. Carolyn is a 5, so she gets 6 dice. She will... She'll take 1 of each. Ursula is also a 4. Well, she's a 3 will, but +1 turns her into a 4. That's a 1. Ursula will also take 1 of each. And Rita's a 4 + 1 is 5. Which she will survive all of that naturally. So very nicely done. Excuse me. Alright, so everybody's done with that, which means we go into the investigator phase. Ugh. Yuck. Well, our first order of business needs to be taking out this dark druid. So Agnes is going to use a storm of spirits to try to do that. Let's see how much health this dark druid has. 6 health. I can't take a damage right now because that would actually give her a, what's the condition? Wounded. Which is basically the same thing but for insane, but for damage. So she will attack with a spell. You race through the incantation and the arcane gestures, putting your own improvised spin on the magic words. Lore +1. The monster suffers damage equal to your test result. Her lore is 5, +1 is 6. And unfortunately, Agnes has got no clues to throw into this. Although that is 4 damage. I might have considered taking the damage if that was going to take it out. So 4 damage, but we flip Storm of Spirits, so here we flip. Whispers rise to a roar, offering great power only if you will pay the price. You may suffer 1 face-down damage. If you do, the monster suffers 2 additional damage. Then discard this card and gain another Storm of Spirits. Ugh. That would actually take it out, but I'm not going to worry about that because this is an early stage of the turn. And Agnes' second action is probably going to be to run that back. And yep, I'm going to leave the Storm of Spirits close because Agnes is running the attack back. You mouth the words of the incantation, and motes of light begin to appear on your body. Soon every pore radiates a blinding purple light, and you struggle to maintain control of the power, fighting to escape. Will and needs 2 successes. And Agnes unfortunately has no clues to put into this. Never mind. If you fail, the power bursts like a beacon upward toward the sky and disappears with a flash, then flip. So we flip and find. As the spell fades, you feel something clutching at you, trying to drag you away with it. You try to pull away and realize it is clutching at something other than your body. Suffer 1 horror and become dazed. So Agnes gets a face-down horror. And she becomes dazed, which means she can't spend clues to convert dice results or perform additional puzzle steps. At the end of her turn, discard, except it's the end of her turn, so she immediately discards dazed. She basically flips that condition to bird, but she gets another Storm of Spirits. Well, I hope you're enjoying the playthrough I hope you're not enjoying watching this all go sideways on me in a hurry, Troy. It's not usually this bad. And there's our new Storm of Spirits. So that's going over to Agnes. Jenny's going to attack the Dark Druid unarmed. Yes. As you grapple your foe, you attempt to lift it off its feet. Strength, and she needs 2 successes. Jenny's strength is a 3. which we can't do anything with that. If you fail, your foe drives an elbow into your stomach to break the grab. Come on, Jenny. As your foe lunges towards you, you kick at its legs, hoping to knock it to the ground before its attack connects. Agility and need 2 successes. Okay, that seems a little more likely. That's 2 successes. And yep, that is the way the dice fall. If you pass, you catch its knee, and with an audible crack, your enemy's leg gives way, granting you a brief respite to consider your next move. The monster suffers damage equal to your test result, then become focused. So we do discard the Dark Druid, thankfully, and Jenny becomes focused. So the Dark Druid leaves the board for now. And Jenny becomes focused. Which focused says she can discard this card to convert all magnifying glasses to Elder Signs while resolving a test. So Agnes and Jenny are both done. Rita is going to interact with this search token. So let's see what we get here. A large scroll showing the solar system is scrawled across a pile of books. The scroll is marked with the orbits of the eight planets. A straight line is drawn out across from them from the sun, marked with today's date and the words planetary alignment. Gain a clue, then discard this search token. So that search token is gone. Then what do I want to do? Do I want to continue working on this puzzle up here? Yeah, I think I do. So we'll go back to the app. We'll bring that in shot. It's not exactly in shot, but there's nothing I can do about that. Let's see. I think this is the... I think this centerpiece where it's at right now. Let me bring the app a little bit more in shot. This looks like the lower right, I think. So we'll move that there with that in mind. 2 and 3. Yeah. And that's Rita's turn. Carolyn was stunned. She can only perform one action, so she's going to move in with the rest of the team. Then we'll discard stunned. Carolyn's turn is over. Ursula really doesn't have much going on right now. She's going to move 1, 2. Then everybody stands up, and we get into the Mythos phase. So let's see what we get here. Whispered voices drift down the halls. Their chanting becomes louder and louder. Carolyn Fern covers her ears and starts banging her head against the wall to get the voices out. Carolyn Fern suffers 1 face-down damage and 1 horror. Will negates. Come on, Carolyn. You gotta be stronger than this. Thankfully her will's a 5, though. Which she's able to deal with all of that naturally. Investigator phase, but I think... Yikes. I've actually had to get set up tomorrow's video. I wasn't expecting this to turn into this much of a mess, but that's actually going to be where I'm going to call this a playthrough of Mansions of Madness. I was expecting this scenario to go... Actually, I wasn't expecting it to take anywhere near this long, but it does seem like app-based games are actually... It does seem like app games work a little bit better when I do keep the iPad off-shot except in important moments. Like when I'm working on a puzzle, for instance. Plus, we were headed down a very bad road of Agnes probably getting eliminated via sanity damage since she'd already taken an insane fairly quickly in the scenario. I do enjoy this game, though, and like I said, I think app-based games can work on the channel as long as the iPad stays out of shot. So that's where I'm going to wrap this video up. Tomorrow, we'll be back into Metal Gear Mondays as we play Metal Gear Solid, the board game, by Simon. We've got another boss stage coming up tomorrow night. Wednesday, we're playing Aeon's End by Indie Boards and Cards. And Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Star Wars, not Star Wars, World of Warcraft New Flavors of Azeroth cookbook as we're cooking the entree, Nomergon Nuggets. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications to get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.